Hi everybody, hope you're well. So this video is requested by Sassenach10 who sent in a bunch of gameplay questions, so I'm going to be going on to a couple more of the questions today. So question 6 was, some of the games include more realistic horse care and riding elements that have in-game consequences, like hiring riders in Horse Eden, daily care for horses in Star Stable and Equiverse. How do those more realistic elements affect your interest in the game and gameplay itself? So thinking about this question, I actually sort of think back to games that I played before Horse. For example, there was one of the PC games, which I think was Mary King's Riding Star, and I remember to basically clean out the stall, I had to like erase. It was almost like being in paint and having to erase the bedding in the stall. And then as I played some other PC games, and I think it was probably some of the Pippa Funnel ones, you actually were, using a fork to lift it, but you were still clicking. Whereas, like, whenever you're in the likes of Star Stable, for example, and you have to physically move around in the space and actually lift them and you're with the fork, I think that's quite cool, and I can see the progression that there is. And I know it's not obviously the same game or anything like that, but I can see how care elements have changed, how some have stayed the same. Like, there are certain games, like the likes of Horse, and some of the other ones I've played, like Horse Eden and Equiverse, and etc., where you're clicking on care things, and I suppose Basekeeper too, where you're clicking certain buttons to do certain actions, but you're not actually physically grooming the horse, you're not, you're not physically feeding the horse, you're just clicking a button to do that action. So I think it's really nice to have a game where you are interacting a little bit more. I think that can enhance the game and add to it. I mean, one of the things that I'm really pleased about is the fact that, for example, in Star Stable, they expanded the size of the water bucket because it did get a bit tedious when you had to keep going back to fill a water bucket. And realistically, if you were doing it in real life and you had one water bucket, you'd have to go and fill that water bucket as many times as you needed to. But something like that, making it a little bit easier in game, goes a long way, I think. And I suppose in terms of like hiring writers, in the likes of Horse Eden, I like that element. I think it's a very interesting element, because, in certain situations in real life, for example, people can't always look after several horses or maybe ride all the horses that they have, so they'll hire other people to help them do that. And so I think in the likes of Horse Eden, that's quite interesting to have that, because some people actually will work with their horses, but they will have somebody else compete their horse for them. So I think that brings that realistic sort of element to it, in that respect. And I think that can enhance the game in that way. If I think about how do those more realistic elements affect my interest in the game and the gameplay itself, some elements in the likes of Horse, or maybe Horse Eden or Equiverse or etc., or Beastkeeper, for example, and even maybe in the Magic Crystals as well, where I am doing certain actions, I see those actions as a way of preserving maybe my horse's health, my horse's morale, upping energy, being able to do more with my horse, especially in the likes of Horse. So those things are very key functions that you really need to do. And in the likes of Star Stable, that's true as well, because you want to make sure your horse is happy and in good health, and it's going to compete better. So there is consequences to not doing those things, like there would be in real life. If you didn't take care of your horse and you feed your horse and that, the horse would die if you didn't feed it, if you didn't give it water. So I think it's really important to have those elements in the game because they add realism to it. And on the likes of Horse, where your horses get frozen in time, if you don't log in and you don't do any action with your horses, they don't degrade or anything like that. That kind of leaves it open to not bothering to logging in and not taking care of all your horses every day. Whereas the likes of Equiverse, when I didn't log in there, I had a huge amount of horses die because I wasn't there. But there is functions within that, like locking the divisions, where you can stop that happening. And I think like with Star Stable, where you have the ability to use stable care if you're not going to be online. And I think the fact that you do have to go on every day and care for your horse, it kind of reinforces the fact that if you had a horse in real life, you would actually have to be doing those things every day. You couldn't just do them when you wanted to do them. And if you didn't want to do them, then you'd have to hire somebody else to do it for you. So there is that realism to it. So I think it also helps, I think, people come back to the game because they're like, oh, I need to go care for my horse today. You know, if that's the only thing I do today, if I can't play for a very long time, is go on and care for my horses. So you're thinking about that. And I think for that reason it does add interest to the game, because it's adding that realistic element to it. So I would say it does mean that I feel like I need to go and do that. Whereas like with horse at the minute, because I'm kind of losing interest in horse a little bit, because there's just too many things that I'm not really too pleased about. I think Star Stable keeps my interest for a lot of different reasons, but one of those reasons is the fact that I'm aware that I need to go and care for my horses. If I don't have stable care, I need to go and care for my horses every day. Otherwise, they're going to get sad. Overall, I do think it is important to have realistic elements to a game. I think if you had a completely unrealistic game when it's based around horses, you're not really being true to what it's supposed to be. I mean, you can get really complex simulators where so much can go wrong if you don't, you know, keep the balance. And okay, some of the games are less complex and it's more simplistic, but it's still about having those consequences of not doing those actions, just like in real life. So I think that definitely needs to be in these types of games for the purpose of what they are. Thank you to Sassenach10 for sending in the questions. I really appreciated that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you had a lovely day. Bye, guys!